Hello, so I turned my iPad into a rotating animation disc. I like rotating the whole iPad a lot better than pinch rotating the canvas on whatever app I'm using, and I like having it parked at a comfortable height and a good angle for drawing, and I also like that I can work comfortably without a disc sometimes if I need to. So when the iPad is parked up on it, the whole thing weighs less than £5, and I can easily fit my arm around it, so it's pretty easy to carry as well. So I also don't have to take the cover off the iPad to use it. I mean, you flop the cover around the back and then just drop it on the disc and it sticks right there. And another thing I like about it is that I can put reference material or a script or something, just either side of the iPad, and it's pretty easy to make. So, having said all that, what don't I like about it? You have to kind of decide before you make it where you want the disc to be relative to your body height, and you also have to bear in mind what it will be on. So if you know, for instance, you're going to have it on one of these portable, adjustable incline drawing desks, there's a gap, but at the bottom of this thing between the table height and the where you prop something up on this drawing desk. So you need to bear that in mind. So just put something up on it, however you're going to use it, and figure out with a piece of paper and a pencil where your comfortable drawing height is. Make a note of that. And bear all that in mind when you're sticking your disc onto the board itself. Another thing that's a little bit annoying is once you've decided that it's kind of fixed, you can't slide this disc up and down or anything, it's stuck on the board after all. But what you can do is put the disc a different height from the top of the board than you have it from the bottom, so that way you can always just turn it over upside down and have it either a little higher or a little lower, so you give yourself that little option there. But on the whole, I love it. So I'll tell you how I made it. Of course, I'll have to give you my legal disclaimer in the process of making it. There will be very sharp objects, so be careful with those. And also, you're putting a couple of $1,000s of equipment on it. So any negative outcomes of any kind to you, anyone else, anything else, or any equipment is not my responsibility. That's yours, and I am not responsible for any negative consequences. So there's my legal disclaimer. Anyway, back to the making of it. Pretty simple. The only actually tricky part is cutting the circles in some foam core, but I'll get to that. So you need one piece of 30 by 40 inch foam core that is a 1/2 inch thick, and one piece of 3/16 inch thick foam core, which you can get 30 by 40. You actually only need 30 by 20, but anyway, so I cut the thick piece into two pieces, 30 inches by 19, and I cut the same size out of the 3/16 inch thick piece. And what that does is you just kind of use the smaller thickness piece to push the surface where you rest your arm to about the same level as the iPad screen. And I measured all this out when the iPad has its cover on and the cover's flopped back, and then you just drop it into place. But anyway, those sizes are based on my preference because I wanted to be able to fit my arm around it to sort of carry it around. You can make it, what you could do is make it the same size, but the very top piece, which is the bit you're going to rest your arm on, you can make that bigger so that it hangs down over the front of whatever you're resting this thing on, to give you a little bit more elbow support. Or you could use wood for the very bottom piece, and instead of gluing the circle, the rotating circle on there, you could screw it in. So that would be obviously more permanent, firmer. less likely to ever fall off, so that might be worth doing. The downside is, of course, if you're ever going to be carrying it around, it makes it heavier. You need a 12-inch Lazy Susan. I have used a steel Lazy Susan so that the magnets that come in the folio case when it is attached to the iPad and the front of it is flopped around to the back, that will work just fine to stick it to the disc. If you don't want to use that case, or if you find yourself with an aluminium Lazy Susan, you might have to figure out something with magnets stuck to the Lazy Susan, but I don't know how strong of a magnet might be good, bad or indifferent for your iPad. The next thing you'll need is some good strong glue. I used liquid nails in this instance, and you need some good strong tape. I used Gorilla tape to hold it all together, and you could lubricate the bearings as well before you stick it all together, the bearings inside the Lazy Susan. I've made a couple of these. On one of them I just dripped a little bit of hair clipper oil in there, and on another one I used a little WD-40 with the long skinny little tube that you can stick in the nozzle just to stop it from spraying everywhere. You want to make sure you don't get any on the surface you're going to glue to your foam core. That wants to be free of grease and oil and as clean as you can make it. I rubbed it down with some 91% alcohol just to get it nice and degreased. So anyway, now we move on to the cutting of the circles. This is the trickiest part and also the most dangerous, so be careful, and don't forget my legal disclaimer whereby if anyone swallows razor blades you leave lying around, or you cut all your fingers off, that's your fault, not mine, and I am not responsible. So the trick to cutting the circles, I knew if I tried it by hand I'd make a real pig's ear of it. So what I did was I thought, well, I'm going to need a pivoting point and some means of sort of holding a blade steady while I cut around that pivot. So I just hunted around for something sort of flat and, you know, long enough. The circle itself is 14 inches in diameter. So you just have to drill a little hole in a thing, and then 7 inches away from that little hole cut a little slot that you can hold a blade into, and that's what I did. I found a plastic shim which worked pretty well. I mean, you know, just have a look around, see what you can find. You obviously don't have to use a plastic shim. Yeah, and that's pretty much all there is to it, except for taping all your bits and pieces together. And then you tape them. I mean, I'm using the tape just in the middle, at the top and the bottom and the sides. I'm pretty minimal with the tape because I figure at some point it's going to get scuzzy looking. I'm going to want to replace the foam core. And also, if you don't go too far out to the sides with the tape, you can slide bulldog clips over the edges of the board, or the top piece of the board, and use those to secure, you know, script or reference material. You can, you know, even use a magnet on top of the metal clip itself, so you don't even have to keep unclipping, which I find quite handy. And I use for my animation I use Calipeg, which I'm finding particularly enjoyable. The only slightly less enjoyable part of it is currently, at the time of making this, when you rotate beyond 45 degrees, it flips your drawing back around, which is a little bit annoying. So you just have to kind of keep an eye at the very top of your circle, make sure the corner of your iPad doesn't go beyond that. You could, if you wanted, just put some little obstacle there, you know, push pin or something, just to kind of, so your iPad will bump into that before it flips your drawing over. Procreate goes all the way around though, all the way upside down, which is what I use mostly for drawing storyboards. Yeah, and here's the animation I made using Calipeg on this. I wanted to see how tough the glue is, so I stuck this metal bracket onto this piece of foam core. So I'm just curious how it actually has to tear the paper off of the foam core. It's not gonna, it's pretty good stuff. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, then feel free to like it, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, hit notifications if you want to see more stuff. Cheers.